Dear students, welcome and thank you for tuning in to this video. I am Dr. Loay Al-Zube and I am going to speak to you about lift. What is lift? When we have an object or something that we call a foil is moving through a fluid. This is a part of the biomechanics class in which we talk about fluids mechanics. It's just basic concepts that I feel very important for all students to understand. What is a lift? It's a fluid force. We have talked about before two other types of forces. We talked about buoyant force, which is similar actually in action to lift, but there is differences in the characteristics of between the two forces. Buoyant force was one of the fluid forces, and we also talked about drag force, and that's a force that is acting in the opposite direction of the movement. And the third type of forces that we are interested in fluid mechanics is lift. So it's a force acting on a body in a fluid, and it is in a direction that is perpendicular to the fluid flow. If you look at the schematic that we are looking at here, it's a representation schematic of a wing. The wing is moving in that direction. We are seeing that we have two streams of air. So we have this upper stream and lower stream. If the wing is passing through those streams of air or fluid, remember we define fluids as liquids and gases. So let's say we have this upper stream. So I have this upper stream of air going that direction, and that lower stream, and the wing is moving in the opposite direction. So we're trying to move this way. If we have these two streams, our lift is going to be, or the lift force is going to be perpendicular to the flow of the fluid. Remember, we need to have a flow of the fluid in order to be able to attain lift. So that's the general definition. And we have a very important concept or coefficient that we need to identify for lift called the coefficient of lift. It's a unitless number that is an index of the body ability to generate lift, and it depends on the geometry of the structure, which we're going to be calling a foil, which is any geometry or a body that can generate lift. This is the general idea about lift, and it's a fluid force, and it's trying to pull the object perpendicular to the direction of the fluid flow. Now, what are the factors that affect lift? This is the definition of the force, and FL represents the lift force, and it is equal 1/2 CL. CL is the coefficient of lift, and as I mentioned before, it depends on the geometry of the object. Rho is the fluid density, which is mass per unit volume. AP is the surface area against which the lift is generated. And if we go up to our example before, this is actually the area that we are talking about. That's the surface area on the bottom of the, let's say the wing here. The area affects the value of our force, which is the lift force, and also V is the relative velocity with respect to the fluid. Keep in mind, this is a relative velocity. It's not the velocity of the object. You need to account for the flow of the fluid in order to attain your relative velocity. So in general, FL, which is the lift force, equals 1/2 CL multiplied by rho multiplied by the area multiplied by the velocity square. In general, the relationship between these variables affect the force. The force will increase if you you have a relatively high, increased velocity of the fluid flow, and also if we have larger surface area of the flat side of the foil, again, it will increase my lift force. The foil is a body or a structure that can generate lift, and higher coefficients of lift will result in higher lift force. If the density of the fluid is large, we will have large lift force. Also, the shape and the size and the orientation of the body, which is the geometry, actually affects the value of the lift force. I hope this is a helpful introduction to what lift is, which is the force in a fluid force. And in the following videos, I'm going to explain some characteristics that we need to keep in mind when we are calculating, dealing, or analyzing, a body in a fluid flow, and how lift is important in that aspect. Thank you for watching. Until the next video. Bye.